what we focus on, we're part of. So I encourage my clients just to, and those I speak with, focus on what you love about your current life and what you don't love about your current life. And what if you had a life where, and what are you longing for? What are you discontented about? I would love it if what? And I'm so tired of what? And so once you can see that as current results without blaming yourself, it's just, these are my current results. What would my life be like if it answered my longing and dissolved my discontent? What would that be like? And then design a vision for that.
Welcome to Letting Go and the Greatest Secret, where we explore the end of your suffering and the beginning of lasting happiness. I'm Hale Dwoskin, and today I'll be joined by Mary Morrissey. Mary Morrissey is the author of 2 best-selling books, No Less Than Greatness and Building Your Field of Dreams, which became a PBS special. Through her books, live events, and programs, Mary has empowered millions of people worldwide to achieve new heights of meaning, purpose, aliveness, and authentic success. Let's just jump right into, how does your work relate to that one infinite awareness that all is?
It's the foundation of everything I do, that one infinite awareness that I believe is ever giving more and more of itself to us as we get close to it.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, and as you do this work with people, how does that infinite awareness inform the work that you do?
It informs it in endless ways, really. The idea that I operate from in the work that I do with people is we're going to create results as our species in this dimension of expression of itself. Infinite awareness is infinite, just by definition, it is infinite. And there's no limit to it. But our perception of it, our experience of it, and our ability to be in harmony with it evolves. And one of the best ways I've found in helping people evolve has 2 sides to it. One is having a vision of a life that is meaningful, purposeful, contributory, difference-making to the individual, and being willing to look at, address, and release the blocks that are inherent in the human experience that we gather over time if we're not aware. And release those to not create something within us, but unlock something that's already there.
Yes, that's one of the keys, that which we are just needs to be unlocked as opposed to created anew.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And how do you see that in your work? Or how do you explore that in your work?
Well, as soon as someone creates, one of the things we begin with is helping them look at life or spirit is ever expressing itself in infinite numbers of ways. But you can, if you just look at nature, you can see that there is an expression of life seeking to expand itself in expression. It's pressing to the edges of a tree today to become more of itself. It's pressing through a blade of grass to become the best blade of grass it can be that day, pressing even through cement to seek the light. And that same life force or energy of expressing itself is in every single one of us. Mm-hmm. But it gets thwarted through all kinds of different mindsets, opinions, different beliefs that we gather along the way. So the first place we start is helping people notice something, that they're not breathing themselves. There's a presence, a power, a life that's animating this physical thing we call our bodies and is ever present. So that we didn't create ourselves, there's a presence and a power seeking to express itself uniquely as you and uniquely as me. And if we notice that we have longings and discontent, which I believe is the first wavelength of that beautiful awareness seeking to express uniquely. We don't get a choice about whether we're going to create results. Everybody's creating results. But we do have, with awareness and connection to the source of beingness, the ground of being, the ability to shape and form what results we will create. And along the way, of course, the minute we create a vision, everything within us in our current awareness, our psychology, that is not a match for that, rises up into awareness. Well, I'm not that. I'm not good enough. I don't have the money. I don't, and all the reasons why we're not a match for a life that is a life we would really love, that's informed by longing and discontent. Because in this dimension, our first wavelength is to notice expansion or contraction. When we have an idea and we say, that's a good idea, how do we know it was a good idea? We knew because we felt expanded in its presence. And we'll go, that's not a good idea, because we felt contracted in the presence of that idea. So life is communicating to us, spirit is communicating to us through these wavelengths. But most of us are just going on in our day and not aware of that.
Yeah, most of us are just running on automatic all the time. And I have a couple of questions from things you said so far. The first one is does a tree actually try to expand, or is that just the natural functioning of treeing?
Trees have, they're alive and they have no self-awareness. So
Right.
trees aren't trying to expand. They're responding to that pulse of life seeking to express itself more fully. It's ever seeking.
I see. And let's see if I can remember the other question. The the other one just went out of my mind, so I'm not going to worry about it. But I loved everything you said so far. So how? So the first thing you help people do is you get in touch with the contraction expansion that happens when there's harmony and resonance.
The expansion contraction is a tool for noticing. The first thing we do is help them look at their life, what they love about their life, and what they would love more of and less of. Yes. So since we're going to create results anyway, why not create a life that you absolutely love and there's meaning, significance, difference in it that matters to you? So the question is, what would I really love? Not what do I think I can do? What does the economy say I can do? What do you think I should do?
You don't put the limitations up front.
And let love speak to us. What would I love and there's 4 major areas where we're going to create results a year from now anyway. We're going to have health results. We have health results now. We're going to have health results a year from now. We have relationship results. How fulfilling, how meaningful are the relationships in our life? Are they the most significant ones on autopilot? What in the area of relationship, what matters most to you? And what would you love it to be like a year or 3 years from now? Your vocation, what you're doing with your time and talent, whether you earn income doing it or not, you are doing something with your time and talent. Are you alive in that? Or have you checked your soul at the door and you're just trading time for money? Because you think you have to do this because you're a provider and you're living a life of a relative constriction based on ideas that you've had. And the last one is time and money freedom. Nobody wants just stacks of money around them, but we do want the freedom that money can represent. We want the freedom to give and bring into existence the things that matter, help our kids or our community in ways that matter to us. So those are the 4 areas we work with in terms of helping people shape a vision for what they would love. The minute we get the vision, and it's really a strong vision, everything that's in us that's unlike that vision is going to rise
to the surface, right? It's the nature of clarity. It brings up everything to the contrary. The mind goes, oh yeah? What about this? What about that? No, you can't. This is why. And it can get very busy with that, yes.
So you have to find a way to override that or it will win.
Right.
It's been winning. It's created the results we've got. That paradigm or that way of operating with infinite spirit right here and the finite expression, which is dictated by our awareness of the infinite.
Yes. Or lack thereof.
Exactly. And it can be a small awareness. It can be a growing awareness.
So how do you deal with these blocks that arise in your work?
Well, I found, I think, like your work in the world, you've seen some really simple ways of helping people that are profound in their experience of them, helping people let go. After 40 years of teaching and training tens of thousands of people all over the world, or, well, at least in 193 countries, there are what I've seen repeated in the human experience. We have an infinite nature and a finite human expression of it. Tend to be like eight ways that these abundance blocks, because the infinite is pure abundance. It never holds back from us. We're not in harmony with it. So we keep wanting something we're not having, wishing for something we're not in harmony with. There's 8 of the most common ones. So we help people address, once they have their vision, these are going to they're showing up anyway. And we go, I can see it now as an abundance block versus something wrong with me. But we give them awareness, and then how you repattern your thinking regarding that, so that you can allow more of what's true about you. Everybody has infinite potential, but our ability to get in harmony with that is muted by lack of awareness.
Sure. So what are the 8?
First one is lack of deserving, that somehow we got confused about who we really are. And we thought we were our personality. We thought we gather and store and carry in bags on our back our mistakes. And without the understanding that in the land of light and dark, up and down, we learn equally through getting it right and getting it wrong. Those are processes by which we discover more about who we really are.
Right. And isn't it also true that the right and wrong and good and bad are completely subjective and have nothing to do with infinite awareness?
No, nothing to do with infinite awareness.
and
yet it's very real when you're in that.
It feels real, for sure. For sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So lack of deserving is one. First of all,
very common one.
Yeah. So when you go down to the fundamental piece of that is, do we deserve to be alive? Infinite deemed us. It poured itself into us and gave us life. By definition, that makes us worthy of all that life is.
Sure.
So it's a process of moving our understanding to match that. Another is that often people come in and want transformation, but they actually believe there's just not enough to go around. And if they get more, somebody else is going to get less.
Right. Well, that's our whole society is based around that.
Right. So it's a very common hour pattern of thinking.
Yes.
But in order to liberate oneself into partnership or alignment with the infinite side of our nature, we override that. We have to override that, dispel that, dissolve that.
Right. See through it.
Yeah.
So is that a separate one, the scarcity, or is that still part of the not deserving?
Enough. Fundamental idea that there's not enough.
There's not enough.
If I get
more,
is
that's a huge one. That's a huge
if I get more, somebody else by definition must get. There's a pie. There's a pie, and my piece of the pie dictates how much pie is left for everyone else. Versus understanding that this is not a pie we're dealing with; it's a bakery.
Well, but also it's infinite, so there's no scarcity.
That's right. So there's not too much.
Yeah, I like that. Go ahead. Thank you.
Another is I call it clutter, chaos, and drama. It shows up in lots of different ways,
Right. It does.
Clutter in our physical environment. It leaks energy. It's like having holes in your boat,
Right.
Chaos. Some of us grew up in families where drama was the order of the day. And so we unconsciously have drama cycles that seem to always be following us when we're actually the generator of that experience.
Yes.
So, and how you begin to establish new patterns in yourself that eliminate clutter, chaos, and drama, so that because the infinite is not in clutter, chaos, and drama. if we want to have more of the expression of that infinite life as our daily experience and the way we live and move and have this life, we systematically dissolve the things that are operative in us now that are not a match.
Mhm.
That generative life that every day, I believe, that if when we're in harmony with the infinite, with this, your term for it is life in the new book. What's it called?
Oh, just pure awareness.
Pure awareness. Pure
Yes.
awareness. I think the natural result of us being in harmony with pure awareness is that at least several times a day, we're not thinking about it, but what rises up from the center of our own being is this: I love my life.
Hmm.
I love my life. I love being alive. That's natural. It's not normal. It's not normal. Most people are struggling to have a life they would love, and the struggle becomes the order of the day. But I believe it's the most natural thing. It's in our nature, in the same way it's in a tree's nature to grow and expand. It's in to have growth. It's in ours as well. So clutter, chaos, and drama would be one that can disconnect us.
Yes, and we get habituated into especially the chaos and the drama because
There's certain chemicals that get released when we're in it too that can become very attractive.
Yeah, addictive. Yeah.
Fear of loss is an abundance block, because we have a certain good in our life right now, and the idea if we were to go for more or allow more, that we might lose the good we have to produce more expanded results in our lives. The enemy of great is good, because we get protective of the good we have. And the things we achieve or the goals or the dreams even that I've helped people build stand small compared to who we become in the process. It's wonderful to have those things. It is. On the other hand, what's even more important and meaningful is who we become in the process of that partnership with.
What tends to transform the personality?
It does. It does. Unlock it really unto itself, but its true self, pure. This is the essence of who we are. The beauty, that's just so pristine, and nothing that's ever happened to us. People often over the years of work come in with feeling damaged by something they were raised with or a situation that happened to them, and it's an assumed damage, because in truth, nothing that's ever happened to any of us could permanently taint, tarnish, harm the essential self, the essential beingness that is.
No, beingness is immutable.
But knowing about it is one thing, but knowing it in our livingness and experience of it.
Yeah, they're two different things for sure. Yes.
So that's integration, where we integrate this through this. So fear of loss, that I might lose the good I have if I allow more.
Right. Yeah, because we tend to grip whatever we have because there's not enough. It relates to the other one, but also if I let this go, I might not get something new. So I got to grip onto this, even if I hate it.
Sometimes, yes. Another one is focusing on what's missing. That actually is an abundance block, because what we focus on, we're part of. So I encourage my clients and those I speak with, focus on what you love about your current life and what you don't love about your current life. And what if you had a life where and what are you longing for? What are you discontented about? I would love it if what? I would love it if what? And I'm so tired of what? And so once you can see that as current results without blaming yourself, it's just, these are my current results. What would my life be like if it answered my longing and dissolved my discontent? What would that be like? And then design a vision for that. The moment we design that vision, as we talked earlier about in the polarity, everything unlike that's going to rise up and start to talk to us.
Yes, yes.
Really the voice of the status quo.
Mhm.
And tempting to say, well, I don't have the money to do that. I've never done that before. I don't have what it takes.
Yes.
It's not a good time. This is not a good time for it, which is another limiter. There's no time, and there's only one, and it's now.
Right.
So either you or any other idea around focusing on what's missing.
Yes,
Because
yes.
that builds contraction, and we're not going to have expansion on a contraction frequency.
Yes,
You know,
I mean,
we
if
all know.
right, absolutely. If we're just focusing on what we don't have, we tend to just experience more and more of that.
Mhm. And so harboring resentment is another abundance block.
Yes.
When we think of something that's happened or someone, and we feel immediate contraction, just that's like a leak in our
Yes, yes, yes.
connection. So how we resolve that in a way that, and my view of this is all forgiveness is self-forgiveness. It's really not about the other person. You don't forgive someone because they deserve it. You forgive someone even if you choose to never be in their presence again. You can choose to, in the world of human experience, you don't ever have to see somebody again. But relationships don't live in the world; they live in us, and they're all eternal. You can't end a relationship; you can evolve it, so that when you think of them, you really truly do wish them well, even though you don't have no desire or interest in having a personal human experience.
Yes, if you're holding on to the resentment, it's just hurting you. It's not hurting them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the abundance blocks that can happen in us if we're not aware is living in a get mindset.
Yes.
Because get of its nature indicates lack.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get this, I'm in lack.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. So how we resolve and dissolve that abundance block. And the other would be, the last one would be just a generalized contractive money mindset. We were raised with money doesn't grow on trees, or there's not enough to go around, or I'm not good with money, or people with lots of money aren't nice, or so there's a conflict going on, unconscious conflict with our values.
Yes.
And certainly
that one's also quite common.
Yeah. In the United States, we come out of Puritan, thinking stock out of the Northeast, and it was money is not spiritual.
Right.
So dissolving
that's important.
that mindset. And we're dealing with the infinite. We're dealing with the infinite, and yeah.
So can you give us some examples with any of the 8 you mentioned? Give us some examples of how you would work with someone, or not necessarily hypothetical. How, if someone's listening to this or watching this, how would you recommend that they start to deal with these 8, any one of these 8, or them in general, if there's a general thing, dissolving the blocks that arise around that?
Well, with it, as with anything, is the first step is awareness. You can't alter something you can't see. So when we're going, I've got a contractive money mindset. It just keeps rising up that I'll think, I get a rattle in me that I shouldn't want too much. I should be grateful for what I have. What if it's not either or?
Yes.
What if you can be incredibly grateful for what you currently have and seek that life is seeking? It's never static. And the river of life that's pouring into that energy that's pouring into and through us, it's seeking expression. It will take expression because you don't get to not have results. What expression will it take? The one you're giving it. The same way when we think about it's, I, like you, I've been teaching a very long time. Much of it sounded very esoteric in the early days of teaching. Today, we have amazing technologies that help, in the infinite, there are infinite frequencies,
Yes.
infinite possibilities. The one you're on the same frequency of is the one you will experience, period. In the same way, when I turn that television on, that monitor over there, sometimes it's a monitor, sometimes it's a television. I'm dictating what's going to be on that screen by the frequency I tune to. And if I don't like what's on that screen, I can change the frequency. Thus, as we work with abundance blocks, we're changing the frequency because we're going to have results. The same thing with our phones. We can talk to anybody on the planet at any given time who will pick up by the frequency we dial. When I dial my husband's number, I'm not going to get my friend ever, because I'm not on that the frequency I'm on dictates my results. So why to have a vision is the vision dictates the frequency. Everything unlike that frequency that's operating in me will rise up for the opportunity for me to be aware of it. When it occurs, that's the magic moment. When I'm aware, oh, here's the thought I'm thinking, I can interrupt that thought. I used to believe that, but here's now what I'm moving into. And you just systematically shift that. One of the ways I learned this or got introduced to this, can I just tell you a 5-minute story about me?
Please go right ahead. I'd love to hear that.
All right. So I grew up in Beaverton, Oregon, and I had a high school experience. Mom and dad loved each other their whole lives. I have one sister 8 years older. I'm in high school now. I'm having a high school experience like most young girls dream about. I'm class vice president. I'm on the drills team. I have a lead in the junior play. I'm a homecoming princess that year.
Wow.
High school, I met him when I was a freshman. My high school boyfriend had gone off to college. He was a couple years older, and he came home on spring break. I get pregnant. It's 1966. May 1, I tell my mom and dad I am now pregnant. My mother wept for me as if I had died. We had a very hasty 10-person wedding. A couple of weeks later, now it's mid-May, the principal of the high school calls me to his office and he says, "Are these rumors I'm hearing about you true?" And I said, "Well, if the rumors are that I'm pregnant and married in that order, then yes, they're true." And he just put his head in his hands and he says, "Mary, you have great honors and terrific academics, but you will not be allowed to return here for your senior year. It would be totally inappropriate for a pregnant girl to get mixed in with the normal girls. But if you want to get a high school diploma," my dream had always been to be a teacher. So if you want to get a high school diploma, there's a place you can go. It's not during daylight. It's after dark. It's where the pregnant girls and the delinquent boys go to high school. My best friends I grew up with, their mothers at this point got together and decided their daughters could no longer see me because they almost like what I had was contagious. So So I drove that next fall to a part of Portland that I hadn't been allowed to drive in after dark, got out. It's September. I walk in. I'm walking up these steps thinking, all right, every girl here is either pregnant or has a baby, and every guy is some kind of delinquent. This is my new student body. And I just feel like such a bad girl. I must be a really bad kid because I'm not able to go to my school. My friends can't see me.
Yeah, the whole way of handling it was reinforcing the trauma of it. Yeah.
So my son was born in December. I graduated from Washington Evening High School in May. And in July, I'm in an intensive care ward in a Portland hospital, having been diagnosed with fatal kidney disease. This is before it's pre-transplants, it's pre-dialysis. And I'm in this intensive care ward being told that one kidney is totally destroyed with nephritis, kidney disease. The other one is 50% destroyed, active nephritis. If we can get the blood toxin level in my body reduced enough to sustain a surgery to remove that right kidney, then maybe I'll have 6 months to live. My husband and my son or my little baby are staying with my mom and dad. And I'm thinking, I may never even see him walk. He's 7 months old. I certainly won't get him into kindergarten. And all of my dreams for my life are just crashing, and I'm terrified. And I deep down believe I'm a bad girl. I'm being punished. The God of my upbringing was not a friendly place to go when you felt like you had really screwed up.
No, definitely. Yes.
Judgmental God. And later I would say that God needed to attend some anger management class. But,
Right.
the night before the surgery was scheduled to remove that right kidney, a woman walked in my room who identified herself as a chaplain, and asked if I wanted someone to pray. She said, I come 3 times a week. I get the schedule of who's having surgery the next day in the order of the most serious surgery. You're at the top of the list. You want somebody to pray with you. And I said, okay. And she pulled her chair next to my bed, didn't do anything that looked like any kind of prayer I'd ever been introduced to. She talked to me, and she started this way. She said, would you be willing to tell me what's been going on in your life the last year or two? So I told her my story, at the end of which she looked at me compassionately and she said, Mary, everything's created twice. I had no idea what she's talking about. She said, everything's created twice. The bed you're laying on, the nightgown you're wearing, the sheet covering you, the walls, the ceiling, the floor, all the machinery you're hooked up to, first had to be a thought before it could be a thing. And now that you're considering how everything's created twice, I hear how much you love your little boy, but I also hear how much you've been hating yourself. You feel like you shamed your school, you shamed yourself, you shamed your family. And now that you're considering how everything's created twice, could it be that that toxic thinking and that pattern has generated in your body a response of toxicity that is threatening your life?
Mm-hmm.
Could you believe that we could place all that self-hatred and that self-loathing in the kidney that's going to get removed? And instead of dying, you could get better each day. You could actually get better. Could you believe that? All the doctors were just like, oh, we're so sorry. There's nothing we can do there.
Right,
I mean, the best we can do. And there was no hope. I said, well, I don't know if I can believe that. But she says, well, can you believe that I believe it? And I said, yes, I can believe that you believe it. And she said, then believe in my belief. And she said, let me give you a suggestion about what to do. And so and then she said, now this is before we had mind-body clinics at Harvard Medical School. This is before,
right.
this
is way ahead of its time.
Ago.
Yes, absolutely.
A long time ago. This is before Talbot wrote Holographic Universe or Sheldrake did Unified Field Theory. All of this came later. So she said, here's what I want you to do. In a moment, we'll just say a prayer and we'll imagine that we're scooping up all the toxicity. We're placing it in the kidney that's going to get removed in the morning. And then after the surgery, you're going to have some pain. So your mind will be busy on the pain. As that begins to ebb, your mind is going to want to walk down the same well-worn paths of thinking that you've been doing. So what I want you to do is every time you start to notice you're having a self-loathing thought, interrupt that thought and say, no, that left with the kidney. And then immediately I want you to do 3 things, just in your mind. You can do it quickly. I want you to imagine you're holding a little boy's hand in yours. It's warm. Feel the warm hand. He's 5 years old. You're walking up some stairs into an elementary school, and there's a happy kindergarten teacher, and your boy's all excited, and he's going into kindergarten. And then hear the click, click, click of your heels around the corner, and there's your classroom, and you're a teacher. Because she said, if you could live, what would you do? I'd raise my little boy and I'd be a teacher. And there's your classroom. Then fast forward in your mind, and you're sitting in a great big auditorium or stadium, and you look down below, and there's all these caps and gowns, and you hear your son's name called, and he crosses the stage, and you're hearing his name called, and he picks up his diploma, and he moves his tassel, holds his arm up, and you're just so proud of him, and you feel so happy for him.
Yes.
And then fast forward, and you're sitting in the front row of a wedding, and your son is marrying the love of his life, and how grateful you are. And your teaching career is flourishing. So at every stop, there was your teaching career is growing, your teaching career is flourishing, and the son being raised and experiencing his life. And it was very physical. It was feel the warm hand.
Yes, yes.
Feel how proud you are at this moment and your role in helping him become a high school graduate, and then to see your son with the love of his life, and just keep doing that. So then she left. I was too unaware to have been a conscious competent in that, but I must have been an unconscious But I do remember at times saying, no, that left with a kidney. And then thinking about him in grade school or in going to kindergarten. And
it's stuck somewhere.
2 weeks after the surgery, my numbers had stabilized instead of decreasing. And they said, well, you may be going to have a little more time than we thought. And I went home in an ambulance. I couldn't even get my head off I had to go to the urologist 3 times a week to check numbers. They said, we don't know how long this will last. But my numbers not only stabilized, they subtly started getting better and better and better because I'm on a different frequency.
Right.
The disease doesn't exist on this frequency. It exists on this frequency.
Yes.
Just like CNN is on this frequency and Discovery is on this one.
Yes.
I didn't know any of this, but I'm doing. And then I remember we were coming home from one of the urologists maybe 3 months afterwards. And I said to my mother, I couldn't yet feel enough energy to walk through the community college and get a catalog. We didn't have the internet yet, I asked my mother if she'd be willing, if we stopped, would she be willing to get a catalog so I could just begin to explore classes I might be able to take. And that's a sign, unconscious to me that I'm making a plan for my life.
Yes, absolutely.
And finally, somewhere between 5 and 6 months, I'm in a conference room at the hospital with the surgeon, the urologist, the people who had most closely helped me have that surgery. And they're scratching their heads and they're saying, we have no science for what's happening. And the surgeon said to me, I saw your other kidney. I took the one, I saw the other, it was all mottled and shrunken. And, I said at the time to those in the operating theater, I hope she gets 6 months. And he said, here you are. And there's that kidney that was shrunken and 50% destroyed is operating like a whole complete kidney. We have no way to know how long this will last, if it will last. And then they said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And I was too young. I was just grateful. And my energy began to return. And ultimately, it was that was in 1967. So it was 4 years later. I'm now in undergraduate school. Mm-hmm. And a series of things occurred in October of 1971 where I ultimately felt like I had come through a portal and that I didn't even know. I had this sense that I'd been living in an attic of myself and I had found my way to the front door. And here was this technicolor world of aliveness. And one of the things that occurred was hearing a lecture at a local lecturer that was in the area where we lived. When you said earlier, good and bad are relative. And he said, nothing is bad unless you think it's bad. And I remember thinking, I'm young, I'm thinking, well, that's not true. There's bad stuff in this world. Car wrecks are bad, murder's bad, war is bad. Come on, there's bad stuff. And then he said, I hear what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. And he said, I'll agree with you. There's things in this world we all want to change. But inside everything, there's always a seed of good. If you find that good, you will transform that circumstance. If you just decide it's bad, it's going to be bad for you. Try it out. And then he gave a tool. He said, the next time something happens and you think this is really bad, interrupt that and just say, I'm going to wait 3 days and look for any possible good that's in this. And if after 3 days you can find no possible good, go ahead and get upset. You don't relinquish your opportunity to get upset. Wait 3 days.
Yeah.
2 days later, my children's, by then I had 2 children. My son's dad comes home and he looks at Ash and I, what happened? There was a massive layoff at work today and 100 of us lost our jobs. I don't have a job. And I was just getting into school now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. This is really bad. And the minute I said, this is bad, ding, I heard that. I said, what did that guy say the other day? He said, we have to wait 3 days to get upset. So it's 5 o'clock Tuesday, Friday at 5, we get upset. In the meantime, we're looking for any good. There is no good in this. I can't see any good, but he was better at it. This is why I drive 90 minutes each way to work and back. What if I had found a job closer to home? And I'm saying, well, yeah, but how are you going to do that? He said, well, I don't know, but it could be good. What if I made more money? Well, how are you going to do that? I don't know, but it could be good. He was better at it than I was looking at the problem way more.
Right.
And so as we began to write down the things that could possibly be good, that was Tuesday night after the kids went to bed. Wednesday, I go back to school, I come home, he's filled out some job applications in places that came to his mind, thinking what would be closer to home, maybe find out what they're paying. Maybe I could make up some more money. And then two of them called him back. And by Thursday night, he came home. He was all bright and shiny. What happened? He got a job, shorter hours, more money, closer to home. He could ride his bike back and forth to work, which he loved doing. And I realized something. I hadn't suffered for the first time in my life, waiting for a circumstance to change before I could be centered, before I could be okay. By the process of delaying my reaction, and I did panic want to rise up in me over and over again during that period, of course. But every time it rose up in me, I went, I'll talk to you on Friday. I'll talk to you on Friday. And I had this tool now, an awareness tool, my first awareness tool. I went back to hear this guy again. And I don't remember what he said that day, but I do remember he invited us he had a friend. He was from New York. He had a friend who was coming back from India. And he was going to be doing a 2-day retreat. And 14 of us signed up. I was in that group. That friend, Ram Dass.
Oh.
And he had given one lecture at the University of British Columbia, came down to Portland, Oregon, and delivered this 2-day training. And it was like sitting in a fire hose, just receiving that pure awareness that was moving through him.
Yes, Ram Dass is a wonder. Yeah.
And so that began a journey for me of, okay, this is what I want to serve life. This, what's happening with me, what's happened with me, this is my calling and my purpose, is to serve this with the teaching that I feel called to do. Did I do some classroom teaching? Yeah, I went ahead and got that degree. I got a master's in counseling psychology. I studied quantum physics. I integrated the world's religions and philosophies. I've had the privilege of working with His Holiness the Dalai Lama over a 7-year project, and worked with Nelson Mandela and learned from them how they brought transformation to the world through the way awareness had worked in them. And I've just sought to help other people have it in a way that matters and is life-giving.
That's wonderful. What a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing that. The whole thing is beautiful, just beautiful. So I hear that you have a gift that you want to offer our
Abundance is our topic. I have an abundance meditation. It's 10 minutes. And I just promise our listener or viewer today that first of all, it's free. We're giving it to you.
That's great.
I know you'll put up a link, and that will be the way that they can have access to it. So it's my gift to you. And thank you so much for your work, Hale, in our world and the difference that you make. So I know the meditation over time, if you just even give it 7 days, you're going to start to notice some things. And if you give it longer, of course, you'll see more.
Of course. Well, anyway, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. I loved everything you shared, and I encourage everyone to get the free gift. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Mary Morrissey. You can learn more about Mary at marymorrissey.com. That's marymorrissey.com. Access her free abundance meditation at bti.com/Hale. That's bti.com/HALE. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe so you can have immediate access to future episodes. Please give us a 5-star rating and share it with the people you care about. If you'd like to learn more about my work, my mentor Lester Levinson's work, and the Sedona Method, please visit www.sedona.com. As you explore our site, you'll learn the key to lasting happiness, success, peace, and emotional well-being. We have books, courses, events, and plenty of free material to explore. Again, go to sedona.com. That's sedona.com. Thank you for being here, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Letting Go and the Greatest Secret.